In the annals of military history, there are moments that defy convention, where ingenuity triumphs over sheer force. The story of Ukraine's struggle against Russia's formidable Black Sea fleet between 2022 and 2025 is precisely one of those tales. It is a modern-day David and Goliath epic, played out across the vast, dark waters of the Black Sea. Imagine a nation with virtually no traditional navy of its own, facing a fleet steeped in centuries of naval tradition and armed with cruisers, frigates, and submarines. The odds were, by all conventional measures, insurmountable. Yet through a combination of audacious strategy, relentless innovation, and unyielding determination, Ukraine not only survived, but systematically dismantled its adversary's maritime dominance, achieving a victory that will be studied for generations. The scale of this achievement is staggering. By mid-2025, Ukraine had managed to destroy or disable nearly 40% of Russia's entire Black Sea fleet. This was not accomplished with battleships or aircraft carriers, because Ukraine had none. Instead, it was achieved with a clever mix of old-school coastal defenses and, most critically, a revolutionary fleet of unmanned sea drones. These small, agile, and deadly vessels became the bane of Russian commanders, turning the Black Sea from a Russian lake into a treacherous hunting ground. The conflict demonstrated that the traditional calculus of naval power, measured in tonnage and gun caliber, was being rewritten in real time by operators hundreds of miles away, staring at video screens. This was more than just a series of successful military strikes. It was a campaign that fundamentally altered the strategic landscape of the war. Russia's initial naval superiority allowed it to enforce a crippling blockade, launch missile strikes on Ukrainian cities from the relative safety of the sea, and project power across the entire region. Ukraine's counteroffensive at sea methodically stripped away these advantages one by one. The sinking of the flagship Moskva was just the beginning. What followed was a relentless campaign of attrition that forced the proud Russian fleet into a humiliating retreat, abandoning its historic and heavily fortified headquarters in Sevastopol, Crimea, for safer but less strategic ports far to the east. The implications of this unprecedented naval turnaround extend far beyond the Black Sea. It signals a paradigm shift in maritime warfare, proving that a smaller, more technologically adept force can challenge and defeat a much larger, conventional navy. Ukraine's success story is a testament to the power of asymmetric warfare, where creativity and adaptation become the most potent weapons in the arsenal. It is a narrative of how a nation, pushed to the brink of economic and military collapse, harnessed its intellectual and industrial resources to forge a new kind of naval power, ultimately turning the tide in a conflict that once seemed hopelessly one-sided and securing its economic lifeline to the world. In the opening months of the full-scale invasion in 2022, Russia's Black Sea Fleet was not just a military instrument but a powerful economic weapon. Its primary mission was to tighten an economic noose around Ukraine's neck by imposing a complete naval blockade. With warships patrolling the shipping lanes and threatening any vessel that dared to approach Ukrainian ports, Moscow aimed to suffocate its neighbor's economy. Ukraine, a global breadbasket, relies heavily on its maritime exports, particularly grain, which are crucial for its national revenue and for global food security. The blockade was a deliberate and calculated strategy to sever this vital artery, hoping to cripple Ukraine's ability to fund its defense and sow internal discontent. The impact was immediate and devastating. By March 2022, just 1 month into the invasion, Ukraine's total exports had plummeted by nearly 50%. The ports of Odessa, Chornomorsk, and Pivdeny, which normally teemed with activity, fell silent. The blockade effectively trapped millions of tons of grain, corn, and sunflower oil, causing a ripple effect across the globe and raising fears of a worldwide food crisis. For Ukraine, the economic pain was acute. For instance, its grain exports to China alone were worth over $2 billion annually, a revenue stream that was now completely choked off. By the end of 2022, exports were still languishing at half their pre-war levels, a stark indicator of the blockade's success. This economic warfare was a core pillar of Russia's broader invasion strategy. The Kremlin believed that by strangling Ukraine's economy, it could break the country's will to resist faster than it could conquer its territory on the battlefield. The blockade was designed to create a perfect storm, deprive the Ukrainian government of essential funds, disrupt global supply chains to create diplomatic pressure on Kiev's allies, and demonstrate Russia's uncontested control over the Black Sea. For a time, The strategy appeared to be working flawlessly. The Russian fleet operated with impunity, its dominance seemingly absolute as it patrolled the waters off Ukraine's coast, a constant and menacing reminder of Kyiv's vulnerability. The situation looked grim. International efforts to negotiate a safe passage for grain shipments, like the Black Sea Grain Initiative, provided only temporary and partial relief, often subject to Russia's political whims. The Kremlin used the deal as a point of leverage, frequently threatening to withdraw or obstructing inspections to slow down the process. It became clear that any lasting solution would not come from diplomatic agreements alone. Ukraine realized it had to find a way to break the blockade by force, not by asking for permission. This desperate necessity became the mother of invention, sparking a remarkable campaign of innovation that would soon challenge Russia's naval supremacy in a way no one thought possible. Faced with an existential threat from the sea, Ukraine's initial response was to fortify its coastline with a multi-layered defensive strategy, blending Soviet-era hardware with modern ingenuity. The first layer of this defense was crude but effective. A defensive triangle designed to make the northwestern Black Sea a no-go zone for the Russian Navy. This involved the strategic placement of hundreds of old naval mines, transforming the approaches to key ports like Odessa into a treacherous underwater minefield. While an imperfect solution, these mines served as a crucial deterrent, forcing Russian warships to operate at a greater distance and complicating any plans for an amphibious assault on the Ukrainian coast, which was a major fear in the early days of the war. The second, and more dynamic layer of this coastal shield was comprised of land-based artillery and anti-ship missile systems. Ukraine deployed its short-range coastal artillery batteries to target any Russian vessels that ventured too close to the shore. More significantly, it harnessed the power of its domestically produced RK-360 MC Neptune coastal missile system. This formidable weapon, a testament to Ukraine's pre-war defense industry, was re-engineered and enhanced during the conflict. Its range was extended, giving it the capability to strike targets not just near the coast, but across a significant portion of the Black Sea, holding at risk any ship within its formidable reach and creating a powerful protective bubble around Ukraine's maritime hubs. The effectiveness of this layered defense was demonstrated in spectacular fashion in April 2022. In a moment that galvanized the nation and stunned the world, Ukrainian forces used 2 Neptune missiles to strike and sink the Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. The loss of this iconic, guided missile cruiser was a devastating military and symbolic blow to Russia. It was the largest warship to be sunk in combat since the Second World War, and proved that Ukraine's coastal defenses were not to be underestimated. The sinking of the Moskva forced the Russian Navy to fundamentally rethink its operations, pushing its remaining surface vessels further from the Ukrainian coastline and out of the range of the Neptune missiles. This initial success, however, was only a partial victory. While the coastal defenses could protect the immediate shoreline and deter an amphibious invasion, they could not break the blockade further out at sea. The Russian fleet simply adapted, operating from safer distances while continuing to control the major shipping lanes and launch long-range caliber cruise missiles at Ukrainian cities. Ukraine had secured its coast, but its economy remained strangled. This defensive success laid the groundwork for what was to come, but it was clear that a purely defensive posture would not be enough. To truly defeat the blockade, Ukraine needed to go on the offensive and take the fight to the enemy. With its coastline secured but its sea lanes still blocked, Ukraine embarked on a path of radical innovation. Unable to build or acquire a conventional navy, it decided to create one from scratch, but with a 21st century twist. This led to the rapid development and deployment of a new class of weapon-unmanned surface vessels, or sea drones. These were small, fast, and stealthy boats packed with explosives, designed to act as kamikaze vessels against a fleet of warships that were built to fight other ships, not swarms of low-profile drones. This audacious program represented a fundamental shift in strategy, from defense to offense, and it would ultimately change the face of naval warfare. 3 key models emerged as the workhorses of this new drone fleet, each designed with a specific purpose in mind. The Magura V5 was the versatile all-rounder, a sleek drone with a range of over 500 miles and the ability to stay operational for up to 60 hours. Carrying a 440-pound explosive payload, it was designed for precision strikes and swarm attacks, where multiple drones would be used to overwhelm a target's defenses. It streamed live video back to its operators, allowing for real-time control and targeting, turning naval combat into something resembling a video game, but with devastating real-world consequences. For missions requiring a heavier punch, Ukrainian engineers developed the Sea Baby. This was a true heavy hitter, a larger and more powerful drone initially capable of carrying a massive 1,900-pound warhead over a distance of 620 miles. The Sea Baby was purpose-built for attacking high-value, often static targets. Its immense payload was designed to inflict catastrophic damage on docked warships, naval bases, and critical infrastructure like bridges. It was less about agility and more about delivering a single knockout blow that could cripple a key enemy asset in one strike, making it a strategic weapon in Ukraine's asymmetric arsenal. Rounding out the trio was the Stalker 5.0, introduced in the summer of 2024. Smaller and stealthier than its counterparts, the Stalker was initially conceived as a logistics and reconnaissance drone, capable of covertly transporting supplies or personnel. However, its modular design meant it could be quickly retrofitted with a 300-pound warhead, turning it into a light attack drone. This versatility made it an invaluable asset, able to perform a variety of missions from intelligence gathering to surprise attacks. Together, the Magura, Sea Baby, and Stalker formed a diverse and deadly drone navy, giving Ukraine the tools it needed to challenge Russia's giants. The initial deployment of Ukraine's sea drones focused on a simple but effective tactic: swarming. Operators would guide groups of Magura V5 drones under the cover of darkness towards Russian warships. The drones' low profile made them incredibly difficult to detect on radar, and their high speed made them a challenging target for naval guns. By attacking from multiple angles simultaneously, a swarm could overwhelm a ship's defensive systems. Even if some drones were destroyed, the goal was for just one or two to get through and strike the target, causing significant damage. This tactic proved highly successful against patrolling vessels and ships anchored in port, creating a constant sense of vulnerability among Russian crews. However, Ukrainian ingenuity did not stop at surface attacks. In a major escalation of their capabilities, they began to adapt their sea drones for a completely new role: anti-air warfare. In late 2024, the world witnessed a historic first when a modified Magura V5 drone, equipped with a repurposed Vimpel R-73 air-to-air missile, known by NATO as the AAA-11 Archer, successfully engaged and destroyed a Russian Mi-8 transport helicopter over the Black Sea. The helicopter was likely on a mission to hunt for the very drones that destroyed it. This single event sent shockwaves through the Russian military, demonstrating that the threat was no longer confined to the water's surface. This revolutionary capability was not a one-off success. Ukraine continued to refine this concept, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible for a maritime drone. In a stunning display of this new doctrine in May 2025, a group of specially modified Magura V5 drones ambushed Russian air power near the port of Novorossiysk. This time, the drones were armed with American-made AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles. They managed to shoot down two advanced Russian Su-30 SM fighter jets that were flying on patrol. Suddenly, the hunters had become the hunted. Russian pilots, who once flew with impunity over the Black Sea, now faced a lethal threat emerging from the waves below. This transformation of sea drones into mobile anti-air platforms was a tactical masterstroke. It created a multi-domain threat that Russian forces were completely unprepared for. A single drone mission could now pose a danger to both ships and aircraft, forcing the Russian military to expend even more resources to counter them. It complicated every aspect of their operations, from naval patrols to air cover, and added another layer of psychological pressure on their forces. Ukraine had not only invented a new weapon, but it also created a new set of rules for the battlefield, proving that its drone fleet was a constantly evolving and increasingly deadly threat. As the conflict progressed, Ukraine's drone program entered a new phase of rapid technological advancement, fueled by battlefield experience and a relentless drive to stay ahead of Russian countermeasures. The engineers and operators were not content with their initial successes. they continuously upgraded the drone's capabilities, turning them from simple remote-controlled bombs into sophisticated multi-purpose weapons platforms. A key element of this evolution was the integration of advanced satellite communications. By relying on redundant Starlink-based systems, the drones could be controlled from hundreds of miles away with a stable, high-bandwidth connection, making them immune to traditional radio jamming techniques and giving their operators a clear, live view of the battlefield. The upgrades unveiled by the Security Service of Ukraine in October 2025 showcased this incredible technological leap. The new generation of the Sea-Baby drone was a testament to this progress. Its operational range was dramatically extended to over 930 miles, allowing it to strike targets virtually anywhere in the Black Sea and even beyond. Its payload capacity more than doubled to a staggering 4,400 pounds of explosives, giving it the power to inflict devastating damage on even the largest and most fortified targets. These enhancements transformed the Sea-Baby from a tactical weapon into a strategic one, capable of holding at risk Russia's most valuable naval assets and infrastructure. Perhaps the most significant upgrade was the integration of artificial intelligence. The newest drones were equipped with AI-assisted targeting and navigation systems. This meant the drone could autonomously identify and home in on a pre-selected target, even if the connection with the human operator was lost in the final moments of the attack. The AI could help the drone navigate complex environments, evade defensive fire, and distinguish between different types of vessels, ensuring it struck the intended high-value target. This fire and forget capability made the drones even more lethal and resilient, further complicating Russia's defensive efforts and reducing the risk for Ukrainian operators. These advanced features fundamentally changed naval warfare strategy in the Black Sea. Ukraine now possessed a long-range precision strike capability that did not require risking pilots or expensive conventional missiles. The upgraded drones were not just kamikaze weapons, they were modular platforms that could be configured for various missions. A Sea-Baby could be armed with its massive explosive payload, loaded with sea mines to be laid covertly in enemy waters, or equipped with dedicated anti-air turrets and missile launchers. This versatility gave Ukrainian commanders a flexible and cost-effective tool to shape the battlefield and keep the Russian military constantly off balance. Armed with their increasingly sophisticated drone fleet, Ukrainian forces began targeting Russia's most critical strategic assets, aiming to cripple its military logistics and undermine its hold on occupied territories. The primary target was the Kerch Bridge, the 12-mile-long structure linking mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. This bridge was more than just a piece of infrastructure. It was a symbol of Russia's 2014 annexation and the main supply line for its troops in southern Ukraine. Attacking it was a direct challenge to the Kremlin's control. In June 2025, Ukraine conducted its third major attack on the bridge, reportedly using its advanced sea drones to plant over 2,000 pounds of explosives, causing significant damage and disrupting military traffic for weeks. The constant and evolving threat from sea and air drones made the port of Sevastopol, the historic headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea, untenable for the Russian Navy. What was once a fortress became a death trap. Ships docked in the harbor were repeatedly targeted by swarms of Magura drones and heavy-hitting Sea-Baby attacks. The port's defenses, designed to repel a conventional naval assault, proved inadequate against these small, fast, and stealthy attackers. The psychological toll on Russian sailors was immense, with the constant fear of a sudden, explosive strike. Reluctantly, the Russian command made a decision that would have been unthinkable just a year earlier. This led to a mass exodus of the Black Sea Fleet from Crimea. One by one, Russia's most valuable warships and submarines were relocated from Sevastopol to ports further east, primarily Novorossiysk and, to a lesser extent, Temryuk. This strategic retreat was a monumental victory for Ukraine. It effectively ended Russia's ability to project power from its most important naval base in the region. The withdrawal from Crimea not only protected Ukraine's coastline, but also significantly reduced the threat of sea-launched Caliber missile strikes on Ukrainian cities, as the new bases were further away and their launch operations more exposed. However, Ukraine's long-range drones ensured that there was no truly safe harbor. Even Novorossiysk, hundreds of miles from Ukrainian-controlled territory, proved vulnerable. In a daring operation in December 2025, Ukrainian forces demonstrated their reach by striking the port with submersible drones, a new and even stealthier type of unmanned vessel. They successfully hit the Kilo-class submarine Krasnodar while it was supposedly safe inside the harbor. This attack proved that distance no longer guaranteed safety, and that Ukraine's innovative spirit would continue to find ways to reach its enemies, forcing the Russian fleet into an ever-shrinking operational area and cementing its strategic defeat in the Black Sea. The culmination of Ukraine's naval strategy was the successful breaking of the Russian blockade. By systematically degrading the Black Sea fleet and forcing its retreat, Ukraine carved out a secure maritime corridor for its exports. Starting in the autumn of 2023, cargo ships began to tentatively use this new route, hugging the coastlines of Ukraine and fellow NATO members Romania and Bulgaria. The risk was still present, but the diminished Russian naval presence made it a calculated one. This brave initiative marked the beginning of Ukraine's economic resurgence. The first trickle of ships soon became a steady flow, as confidence in the corridor grew with each successful voyage. The numbers tell a story of remarkable success. By the end of 2024, Ukraine had exported an incredible 88 million tons of cargo through its Black Sea ports, nearly double the volume of the previous year. By January 2025, a pivotal milestone was reached. Monthly export volumes returned to their pre-war levels and stabilized. The economic noose that Russia had so effectively tightened was now broken. The flow of grain, metals and other goods resumed, injecting vital funds back into Ukraine's war-torn economy and restoring its role as a key supplier to global markets. This achievement was a direct result of the military pressure exerted by the innovative drone campaign. This turnaround was not achieved in a vacuum. While Ukrainian innovation was the driving force, support from Western partners played a crucial role. This support came in many forms, from the provision of critical components and technologies used in the drones themselves, to the invaluable intelligence and surveillance data that helped Ukraine track Russian fleet movements. Systems like the Starlink satellite internet service, provided by a private company, became an indispensable part of the drone control network. This synergy between Ukrainian ingenuity and Western technological support created a potent combination that the Russian military struggled to counter, highlighting the importance of international alliances in modern warfare. Ultimately, the story of the Black Sea is one where grit and innovation triumphed over brute force. Ukraine demonstrated that a nation does not need a large, traditional navy to achieve maritime dominance. By neutralizing Russia's fleet, it secured its economic sovereignty and significantly reduced the military threat from the sea. By January 2026, the situation had been so completely reversed that for over a week, not a single Russian warship or submarine was observed in the entire Black Sea. The missile threat from the sea had been, at least for a time, completely neutralized. Ukraine had not just survived, it had won the battle for the Black Sea. The Ukrainian campaign in the Black Sea represents more than just a tactical victory. It is a profound challenge to the long-held principles of naval power. For centuries, maritime strength was measured in the number of capital ships, the range of their guns, and the thickness of their armor. The conflict between 2022 and 2025 demonstrated that this paradigm is rapidly becoming obsolete. Ukraine proved that a distributed, adaptable, and technologically superior network of low-cost, unmanned systems can effectively defeat a traditional hierarchical and expensive fleet. It is a lesson that navies around the world are now studying with intense interest, realizing that their multi-billion-dollar warships could be vulnerable to drones costing a few $100,000. The success was also a stark indictment of Russia's own naval failures, which were exacerbated by deep-seated systemic issues. The loss of key shipbuilding facilities in places like Ukraine after the collapse of the Soviet Union left Russia unable to produce modern large warships at scale. Its existing fleet suffered from poor maintenance, a contributing factor in the fire and sinking of the Moskva. Crucially, Turkey's closure of the Bosphorus Strait to all warships meant that Russia could not replace its losses in the Black Sea, forcing it to fight with a dwindling and irreplaceable asset. Ukraine's strategy brilliantly exploited these pre-existing weaknesses. The conflict has ushered in a new era of asymmetric naval warfare. The future of maritime conflict will likely be defined by swarms of intelligent drones, operating on the surface, underwater, and in the air, all networked together and controlled by operators far from harm's way. The focus will shift from building bigger, more expensive platforms, to developing smarter, more numerous and more disposable systems. This democratization of naval power means that smaller nations, unable to afford aircraft carriers and destroyers, can now develop a credible deterrent against larger adversaries. Ukraine has provided the blueprint for how to do it effectively. In the end, Ukraine's victory in the Black Sea is a powerful story of human ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. It is a case study in how a nation, fighting for its very survival, can leverage technology and audacious thinking to rewrite the rules of war. The silent ports of 2022 gave way to the bustling trade of 2025, not because of a peace treaty, but because Ukraine took control of its own destiny. The ripples from this conflict will be felt for decades, forcing military planners to rethink the very definition of a navy and what it means to control the seas in the 21st century.